Hello students, welcome to Ekam IAS Academy, Hyderabad. I am Major SPS Ubroy, one of the faculties teaching at the platform of Ekam IAS Academy. Today in our lecture, we will discuss about one important international affairs related issue that's going around the news is the US-Taiwan relationship. In the previous lectures, we also spoke about how US is trying to gain its foothold in the Indo-Pacific through organizations like Quad, your AUKUS and also the very latest IPEF. Other than this, there are also platforms like Trans-Pacific Partnership where US is trying to gain its foothold in the Indo-Pacific. But today's lecture is more concentrated on the relationship between US and Taiwan. In this lecture, we'll talk about the historical perspective of the US and China relationship. Then we will also talk about how the Cold War dynamics changed this relationship, and finally now the present contemporary US engagement with Taiwan. All these three dimensions we'll try to cover in this video. Okay, so before we go to the lecture proper, a small announcement. Ekam IAS Academy Hyderabad is announcing the start of a new GS Prelims cum Mains Foundation batch that is starting on the 22nd of June 2022. So all the students who are preparing for the UPSC 2022, 23 and 2024 are kindly requested to register for this upcoming long-term batch of Ekam IAS Academy. One more platform where the Ekam IAS Academy is trying to give you a foundational understanding of all the dimensions related to UPSC through a special program called NCERT Foundation Program. So through this program, we are planning to give a foundational learning to all the students who are aspiring to be future bureaucrats. I would suggest a very great opportunity for the students who are preparing for the UPSC 2023 and 2024. A must subscribe course for all the students who are preparing on their own. So for them also, this is a very important platform. So with this, we start the lecture of today, that is US and Taiwan relationship. Initially, geography part of it, as we all know, Taiwan is located southeast, around east and southeast of China, and somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So geographically, Taiwan is to the southeast of China, located in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Because of its geography, it assumes greater significance from the geopolitics point of view also. What we'll do is we'll venture into the historical part of Taiwan, then we'll come back to the contemporary phase. See, when we talk about US and Taiwan relations in the present day context, we always have to go back to history to find out how US engaged with the erstwhile China. And when I use the word erstwhile China, I am primarily talking about one dynasty that ruled China was called the Qing dynasty. As we all know, starting from 1644 till 1912, China was under a dynasty rule which was called a Qing dynasty. So the first and the foremost engagement of United States with the erstwhile Qing dynasty of China started in the year 1784, when for the first time the United States sent their representatives to China. But let me tell you, these representatives of the United States were not welcomed by the Chinese. See, as I told you in one of the previous classes, Qing dynasty was one dynasty of China which always followed a closed economic policy. A closed economic policy is one policy where a country is not desirous of engaging with any outside country, whether it is economic, whether it is political or socio-cultural engagement. So they followed a closed economic policy. Because of this, the US representatives were not warmly welcomed by the Qing dynasty people. And if you know history of the China in the early 19th century, during the 19th century, the dawn of the 19th century, also brought in one important dimension in the Chinese history is the Opium Wars. Through these Opium Wars, primarily the Britishers tried to gain control or access to the markets of the Qing dynasty, that is the present day China. So in the early 19th century, when this Opium Wars was happening, the Britishers were technically using, cultivating opium in India and selling. But however, when it comes to the United States, they were basically using the Persian Gulf's opium and selling it in the Chinese geography, which was ruled by the Qing dynasty. So this was first trade related engagement of US with China, though it was unofficial. And for the first time in the 1830s, the American Protestant missionaries that arrived in China. So this is one important point of view. And the diplomatic relationships were established with the Qing dynasty only in the year 1844, and if you are aware, this is the year when the second Opium War culminated and the Britishers emerged as victorious. So after the Britishers emerged as victorious, they got the access to trade with the Qing dynasty. That is how, under the guise of the Great Britain, US also started trading with erstwhile China. Now, as I told you, from 1844 till 1912, the China was under the control of Qing dynasty and US continued the trade relationship with China. But as in 1912, when the Qing dynasty was thrown out, the Qing dynasty was thrown out in the year 1912. From the time period 1912 to 1949, China was under multiple governments' control. So even during this period 1912 to 1949, when China was under multiple government control, the trade relationship with the Britishers continued on and off. And finally, we know that in 1949, PRC, the People Republic of China, this is the one party that was created by Mao Zedong in the year 1921. The Communist Party of China established something known as the People's Republic of China, PRC, and this PRC gained control over the Chinese territory. The US started discussions with this particular party also as regards continuing its trade negotiations. But however, you might be aware that this is also the time period when Cold War had already started. So in the backdrop of Cold War, China decided to align itself with the Soviet bloc and not the capitalist bloc that was led by US. So that is how the first sign of distancing from China emerged on the center stage between US and China, because Mao Zedong strongly advocated the communist ideology and desired to lean towards Soviet USSR, erstwhile USSR, rather than aligning with the US. But however, you can see US was still supportive of PRC. Somewhere in the heart, US had a sub-feeling that I need to support the communist here in this part of the Asian geography. However, the dynamics changed when the Korean War started. This is the first time when US and China were facing each other in the battlefield. This is when you will see that the US was supporting the cause of South Korea and the Chinese was supporting the cause of the North Korea. So for the first time, they started looking at each other in the opposite direction during the Korean War. This is the culmination of the hostilities between US and China. So that is how it is said it is the first sign of direct conflict. But however, this changed the US stand on Taiwan. So till, as I told you, somewhere deep down in the heart of US, they wanted to support the Chinese Communist Party, but the Korean War took US towards the Taiwan. If I take you back into history, the period between 1912, when the fall of the Qing dynasty happened, from 1912 to 1949, approximately this time frame, China was undergoing something known as a civil war, and in this civil war the CPC that was led by Mao Zedong defeated the KMT party, the Kuomintang party, and took over the control of the mainland China, and this KMT was forced to flee towards the present day island which is called Taiwan. So in 1949 China ended up taking hold on the mainland China, and Taiwan was sent to what you call the present day, the Kuomintang party was sent to Taiwan. So now this is when, as I told you, 1950s, after the Korean War, this is the time frame when US started tilting towards Taiwan. And but however, certain things have happened. In 1956, what happened is, for the first time there was a Sino-Soviet, Sino means the Chinese, Soviet is the erstwhile USSR split that was evident in the world geopolitics. Why this split happened? Let me tell you. Khrushchev, in one of the speeches, he in a way ridiculed Stalin. He denounced Stalin in one of his secret speeches, and that was not liked by Mao Zedong. So the seeds of anger towards USSR by the CPC of China first time started in the year 1956. That is when the split started occurring between the Chinese and the USSR. And in 1969, this gap of 13 years, this split finally culminated into a boundary conflict between Chinese and the erstwhile USSR. Believe you me, this is the time when both were part of the communist bloc in the Cold War dimensions. So in this backdrop, US saw an opportunity to go closer to China. And if you see this time frame 1969 to early 1970s, this is the time frame when USSR was also trying to gain its foothold in Afghanistan. So with an intention to contain the spread of USSR, US decided to go closer towards China. As you all read, Dushman ka Dushman dost. Here the Dushman of US is Soviet, and Soviet's Dushman in this particular time frame is China. So that is how USA very intelligently adopted this policy and went closer to China. So this is the time frame after the dawn of the modern world, after the Second World War, we see for the first time the growing proximity between the United States and China. Okay, let's go further now. So in this backdrop, this is when the conflict bolstered the Nixon administration in its intention to improve the relations with PRC in order to isolate and pressure the Soviet Union, as I have explained to you. See now, as I told you, the Taiwan issue is nothing but a question: who is the real, what you call, inheritor of the mainland China, inheritor of the mainland China. So now, as I told you, after the what you call civil war, the Chinese Communist Party, the Communist Party of China defeated Kuomintang. So now when they went to Taiwan, they established something known as Republic of China. This is very, very important. When they went to China, the Taiwan, they established something known as a party called a Republic of China. And while the Communist Party established the People's Republic of China in the mainland. So ever since then, the PRC considers the island as a renegade province. A renegade province is a breakaway province, but which is very much part of China, awaiting reunification by peaceful means. Very important word, if possible. It means that China has kept the option of using force also as one of the methods for reuniting Taiwan with mainland China. So this was the time period from 1950s, as I told you, till late 1960s and early 1970s. This period can be very beautifully called as the honeymoon period of relationship between US and Taiwan. Taiwan was recognized as the real China by the United States. The United States did not only recognize China, the Republic of China which was headed by the Kuomintang party as the real China, but also gave the permanent membership to Taiwan. So the China that holds the present day's United Nations permanent membership was historically held by Taiwan. But however, in the year 1954, US Taiwan also signed a very important treaty called the Mutual Defense Treaty. This treaty is also known to be an alliance treaty between US and Taiwan. Very, very important. And what was the intention? It was intended to secure the island of Taiwan from political invasion by People's Republic of China in the aftermath of the Chinese Civil War on mainland and China. The content of the treaty included the provision that if one country came under attack, the other would aid and provide military support, which is a classic example of a alliance kind of a partnership between these two countries. But however, as I told you, the moment there was a schism or a split in the relationship between China and Russia, this is the time frame when US started disowning Taiwan and started going closer to the present day the Communist Party of China, the CPC, or the People's Republic of China, that is the mainland China today. And this primarily happened because of the shifting geopolitics of the Cold War. As I told you, as Russia started its expansion towards Afghanistan, fearing that China wanted to contain the expansion of Russia and badly wanted China on its side. So that is the reason why it disowns Taiwan and goes closer to China. And this is the time frame when we see that this leads to the US-China rapprochement. Rapprochement is basically the restarting of a cordial relationship between two countries. The relationship that was kind of broken in the year 1949-50 during the dawn of the Korean War starts building up in 1969 and 1917. This is primarily in the backdrop of the Cold War, and the Richard Nixon even signed a what you call communique, which is known as Normalization Communique in 1972, and this is the same year when the PRC displaced the ROC, that is the present day mainland China displaced the Taiwan as the official representative of Chinese in the United Nations. So in 1972, the status of the Taiwan being the original inheritor of Chinese tradition was taken away from Taiwan and given to Chinese. Not only this, the permanent membership of the United Nations was also given to China from Taiwan. And this, as I told you, the shifting of loyalties basically happened through three communiques: the Shanghai Communique, the Normalization Communique, and the 1982 Communique. But however, one important thing that we should note down is in the 1979, when the Normalization Communique was signed, simultaneously United States also signed something known as Taiwan Relations Act in the year 1979 that allowed US to supply weapons, arms and ammunition to Taiwan. So this one important document you should be aware of. And ever since 1970s till now, what the US has maintained when it comes to Taiwan was a strategic ambiguity. Strategic ambiguity is a term that is used in international relations when a particular country is not taking a particular stand and tilting between two stands. So this approach of strategy is termed as strategic ambiguity. At times supporting Taiwan, at times supporting China. So they are not giving a clarity anywhere. So this kind of thing is known as strategic ambiguity. This is primarily done with an intention to contain the geopolitical, geostrategic and the geo-economic rise of China in the complete world and Indo-Pacific in the particular. So they does not want China to get a feeling that you are the superpower of the Asia. With that intention things happen. Now in the last few days, couple of times, rather 2 to 3 times, US President has made a deliberate statement that if required, we will come to the rescue of the Taiwan if China tries to forcefully occupy Taiwan. So this again has to be this particular statement of the US president has to be seen under the backdrop of not Cold War, because this is not the period of Cold War. Now we have to see this under the backdrop of very important, as we discussed earlier, the various what you call efforts that the United States is doing to gain its foothold on the Indo-Pacific. So this is a deliberate attempt, it is a desperate attempt by the United States to tell to the world that China is not the superpower in Indo-Pacific, I still have lot of ground to hold. So the support that the US is giving to Taiwan, saying that I'll come to your rescue if China tries to militarily invade Taiwan, I will come to save you. This is done primarily with an intention to see what is the seriousness of China as regards reoccupying what you call Taiwan. So it is trying to see the response and testing the waters to get a feel of China's game plan. It wants to see how the Chinese responds to this particular statement of what you call United States. See, as I told you, all these efforts, the Quad, the AUKUS and also the IPEF are all part of one strategy that is being implemented by the United States, that is to establish something known as balance of power. So with this intention, the US is trying to bring in some sort of symmetry in the power equation between all the countries and the Chinese. So this is all about US-Taiwan relationships. We have to wait and watch how whether this statement goes ahead and the United States again goes back and signs an alliance partnership with the what you call the Taiwan government. This we need to wait and watch. So this is all about in this today's video. We'll soon meet in one other video related to international relations. Thank you very much.